From Assignment X, TheSoniaShow.com, and JetJurgens.com.
In a world where knowledge is power, at a time when the clock says 2:45, just one high school principal stands before everything being fine and everything running smoothly.
Sonia Mansfield.
I am folding my laundry, Mr. President.
Christopher Allen Smith.
I am folding my laundry, Your Highness.
Peter Brown.
I don't fold laundry, Dr. Zaius.
And John Wayne as Superintendent Chalmers.
And I used to have a ride to school on a horse, and kind of gave me a little background for what I finally got into.
This is Dorking Out About Trailers. We now join Sonia, Chris, and Peter, already in progress.
Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Dorking Out About Trailers, a new podcast about previews, teasers, and the movies we love that they promote. With me today is my co-host, professional writer and author of The Sonia Show, Sonia Mansfield.
Hey there.
Hello, how's it going?
Fine. And with me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker Christopher Allen Smith, author of the upcoming novel Jet Jurgens and the Infinity Key.
And with both of us today is Peter Brown, our new co-host of this new show, associate editor of Assignment X, and the newest co-host in the Dorking Out constellation of stars. Peter, what trailers are on the show today?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. So today we're going to talk about Aliens Covenant, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, Emoji Movie, because that is a thing, Unforgettable, and maybe one of the awfulest trailers we've seen in a while, Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage.
Oh, he's back. He's finally returned.
For all of us.
That's right.
Yes, the sequel we've all been not waiting for. And before we begin, this is a watch-along podcast. In our show notes, we've got links to all these trailers, so when you hear this sound, you can go watch them and then come back for our wise insights. And now, on to the trailers.
So the first one up is Ridley Scott returning to what's becoming his signature franchise, Alien Covenant, coming to theaters May 19th, 2017. Let's take a look. All right. So, Peter Brown, our newest co-host.
Yep.
What? And I let me say as an aside right now, I do appreciate you saying thank you for having you on the show, even though you're a co-host. If you could keep that up, I would appreciate it.
I'll say it that'll be my signature from now on. I'll say thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for having me on my show.
Every week.
That's right. Okay.
Or every other week.
Peter, what did you think of Alien Covenant? The preview.
You know what? I think it has a premise. It looks like it might be getting back kind of to what we kind of see as aliens, I guess, or kind of what the other movies maybe were in some ways. Prometheus kind of stepped out of the even though it was supposedly in the same universe, it kind of threw everything for a loop in a lot of ways. And I know that's why a lot of people didn't like Prometheus, also because it was kind of long and drawn out for a lot and kind of boring in parts. But
just kind of.
Kind of, yeah. And so hopefully this will get everybody back on track, and it'll be actually good. I kind of like that. It looks like we're actually going to have a real alien in it, presumably. We just saw the tail, so we don't really know. But I'm kind of pumped for it. I was kind of waiting and see, I guess, based on what they did with Prometheus. So, but I'm not. I guess I'm more excited than I am cautiously optimistic.
Sonia Mansfield.
I am still cautiously optimistic. I really hated Prometheus, really hated it, and but I will probably go see this movie because I don't know, it's like a bad relationship. Like I just keep going back for more, and I'll go back and I'll see this too because it does look kind of more what I expect an alien movie to be. I'm a little concerned about some of the things from Prometheus carrying on into this. Like, I don't care about like the secret of the black ooze and, stuff like that. But I think it looked kind of exciting. So I'll still see it.
Yeah, I'm going to see it, but I have to say, I am kind of done caring about this whole series. And I do appreciate a creator of Ridley Scott's stature trying to do things with something from earlier in their career. But you know what? At this point, there's kind of more bad alien movies out there than there are good ones. And it's almost like this. I'm feeling a little bit of Fantastic Four syndrome where, yeah, there's
everybody drink.
There's some. Oh, wait, did I say Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Sweet Christmas. What I meant to say was X-Men. How did I get those two mixed up? Where it's like, yeah, X-Men, I like some of the movies, but a lot of them are pretty mediocre. None of them, unlike Aliens, none of them, well, actually, you know what? Exactly like the Alien series. Some of them do flat out suck. And I'm just, like, Prometheus, originally it was billed as a trilogy that was going to lead up to the original Alien, and now it looks like they're doing a pretty severe course correction because of the reaction to Prometheus. It's just, I don't really need a prequel leading up to that original movie. It's, I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks creepy. It looks scary, but it does look kind of like a modernized cross between Alien and Aliens, which I don't really need. So
yeah,
I'm just...
you know what you said is right. It does kind of look like a course correction from what they did in Prometheus, and I think that's...
which they needed to do because it was really bad.
Exactly, and they've been trying to recapture that magic that of the original Alien and Aliens for how many movies now? 3, and then this one coming up. So
yeah,
it's getting to the point where it's almost like the Fantastic Four drink. Where you have to just at some point say it's never going to be good again or ever. I guess.
Right.
That's a course
See,
and
right.
that's it.
You can never say never. And, I keep thinking about George Miller going back to Mad Max Fury Road, and he made a truly amazing movie. And Ridley Scott could have done that. He could have gone back to the Alien well and made a really good Alien movie, but unfortunately he made Prometheus.
I think that's my point, is because if you look at the Mad Max movies, each one gets better and better and better and better. And I will defend to the death Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I think that's a great movie. And then
you don't need to do that, Smith. We don't need another hero.
That's right. Sure you do. And then, but
who run Bartertown, Smith?
I run Bartertown. That's right. But
Prometheus is one of those ambitious failures,
It is, and that's the
there
thing.
Is a lot there's a lot to talk about when you see it. The problem is I don't want to ever see it again.
Right. That's my point. Is he had his chance at Mad Max Fury Road, and what he made was Prometheus, and I'm done. I don't need any more. And this is one of those. This is a little bit like the way Sony treated the Spider-Man franchise, which it was, they made a couple of good movies, then they kind of messed up, and then they kind of panicked and course corrected and made a couple of mediocre movies, and they just kind of beat the franchise into the ground. And it's just, I'm not sure what's left to rectify. They've already, they had their big shot with Prometheus. I don't think I disliked it as much as you did, but I didn't love it. And, I'm done. I'm out. I'll see it, but I'm not super thrilled with it. I'm not eagerly anticipating it. I'm not whatever. So, Sonia Mansfield.
Yes.
Why don't you predict the Rotten Tomato score of Alien
I'm going to say 50%.
50. All right.
Yeah. I'm going to say that people will like it more than Prometheus and be a little kind, and sub 50.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Prometheus's Rotten Tomatoes score was, but I'm gonna say 62. I think it's gonna be kind of like right in the middle of the road.
All right. So let's see. It's 62. I'm gonna say 55. I don't think this is gonna. I think this is one of those franchises that critics are kind of tired of paying attention to.
Prometheus had a Rotten Tomato score of 72%.
Ah,
That's a lot of people who were wrong.
Well, that is too high. There are a lot of parts of it that I liked, but the overall thing just was like blah. And there were one or two parts where it was just like, oh, I can't believe they're making this choice. It's like you can see the writers not being able to write themselves out of a corner, so they just had characters act dumb, which I find irritating. So, all right. So that's where we are at. Up next is a movie that I am really looking forward to, even though I keep kind of forgetting that it's coming. That is Christopher Nolan's return to the big screen in Dunkirk. Let's take a look. Sonia Mansfield, how do you feel about sitting with the British Army as they are nearly murdered by the Nazis in Dunkirk?
This movie had me at from Christopher Nolan. Like, of course I'm going to go see it, right?
Right.
Because it's Christopher Nolan. I will say the preview made me feel really nervous and anxious and stressed, which I think is pretty impressive for like a, 1 to 2 minute trailer to make me feel that nervous and anxious and stressed. I have to say that war movies are not my favorite, but I really like Christopher Nolan, so I'll see it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really looking forward to this. I do like well-made war movies. And this one looks...
I'm curious... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, this one just looks really good. This just looks very... Well, let me step back. I think this is an interesting chapter in the history of World War II. This was almost, and, everybody can drink when we make this. This is almost like, you know what? This is such an awful metaphor, I have to make it. This was almost like the Empire Strikes Back of World War II, which is the British and the French were fighting the Germans. The Germans were kicking their butts all over the place. They shoved them into this tiny town and they were about to destroy them. And then all these, civilian craft came over from Britain, evacuated the British army so they would then be able to have some army to build up again to fight the Nazis and try D-Day. I think it was 4 years later. So it's basically a huge military defeat, a huge military rout where the good guys end up winning by not all getting murdered.
Exactly.
But
spoiler alert.
That's right. Well, it is a 75-year-old war. But so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm wondering, the trailer did feel a little cold, the way I think some of Christopher Nolan's movies do. And I think for a war movie that might make sense, but I don't know. What were you going to ask, Sonia?
You know what? I don't even remember.
All right.
So go on to Peter.
Peter, What do you
Yeah,
think?
like the two of you, I'm pretty excited for this. Actually, this is one of the trailers I like the most of the bunch we got. And I think that it's interesting. I find it interesting how they're going to do a movie where the result of what happens is already known. That's always a challenge. So it'll be interesting to see how they keep that kind of tension going, considering anyone knows anything about history knows what's happened already. So Dunkirk is one of those. I think it's considered one of the greatest saving or saves of in history, where all these 400,000 troops were all penned into a corner, and basically the Germans could have gone in and killed all of them, and they decided to not advance for whatever reason, and then that gave them time to escape. And so knowing that, it's like, how are they going to make a movie where you already know it? So I'll be interested to see how they kind of develop the film to make it kind of still tense. I do love that Christopher Nolan's going to do it, or is doing it, because I love him and all this stuff. So I'm pretty excited.
Cool. Sonia, what did you think?
You already asked me what I thought.
Oh, we're doing
You're
that?
not-
Oh no. This is
You're not listening.
this is the new drinking game that we have fashioned specifically for dorking out about trailers, where I don't listen to them and just keep saying, "So, what did you think?" over and over and over again.
So now ask Peter what he thought.
No, we're not going to do that. I've embarrassed myself quite enough for one podcast.
Do me.
Sonia, what do you think is going to be the Rotten Tomatoes score of Dunkirk?
I'm going to say 83.
83. All right, Peter.
I'm actually going to go pretty high. I'm going to say 91.
91. Oh, snap. I'm suspecting there's going to be a little bit of, not a Christopher Nolan backlash, but critics, after praising someone for over and over and over for as much as they praise someone, they tend to kind of wait for their first chance to pull out the knives if a movie doesn't live up to the ridiculous hype that I think.
Don't you think they did that with Interstellar?
No, I don't think so. So I'm going to say all of that is to say 75.
Okay.
I don't think it's, they're not going to give it like a 50, but I don't think they're going to praise it into the 90s. But I could be wrong. Who knows? That one, I should have said this earlier, comes out July 21st. All right. Now we are moving on to Katherine Heigl's. That's right. Katherine Heigl's new movie. Unforgettable. Let's take a look. So that
boy.
exists.
So that's a thing.
Oh boy.
I suspect you have something to say, Peter.
You sure this isn't a Lifetime movie?
I wrote the exact same note. I'm like, this is going to play in theaters.
Because this really looks like a Lifetime movie. Like, right down to the very end. I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. So yeah, this really looks terrible. No doubt about it. It really looks really bad. I think we talked a little while back about how there aren't these kind of thrillers anymore, where they don't have Fatal Attraction and all those. But I don't think we need something like this, which is like you can kind of basically know exactly what's going to happen from the moment it starts. And once again, they have a trailer where they tell the whole story. She develops a relationship with a divorced man. The other woman tries to win him back, creates conflict, and then they end up fighting in the final act. So it's like, I don't need to see it. I just saw it.
Yeah. It reminds me of those what was it, like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like those movies that came out in the 90s. I think that was 90s. I will say, like, this totally looks like a silly Lifetime movie. Not that there's anything wrong with Lifetime movies.
But there is. Let's come on, let's be honest.
I will say, like, there is a scary premise here. The idea, because, like, they say like 50% of marriages end in divorce, and then you're kind of forced to co-parent with someone, that you have a broken relationship with.
Right.
And then the idea that maybe that person is crazy, that could be scary. And then on top of that, the crazy person starts like gone girling you, basically.
Yeah.
That's, there's actually a really scary movie in there. I don't think this is it, but there's a really good idea in there, I think. It might be a good career move for Katherine Heigl, though, because I don't think it's hard to believe her as a crazy person.
That I was going to make a crass typecasting joke, but I don't need to because apparently
I didn't.
You beat me to it. I am not looking forward to this. I was a little distracted while you guys were talking because I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page for Unforgettable, and it comes out April 21st, 2017, and both of the writers have like credits that are like 10%, 26%, 55%. One of them was a writer on The Conjuring 2, so that's 80%. So that's something, but that's not helpful. And then the other writer, Christina Hodson, has one previous credit, 2016, for the movie Shut-In, which is rated at 3%.
Ooh.
Which, if we're keeping score at home, getting a 3% is almost as difficult as getting a 97%. That's the great thing about the Rotten Tomato scores. Once you get out to the extreme ends, it becomes incredibly difficult to achieve like a perfect 0 or a perfect 100. So to see that is kind of amazing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little baffled about this movie. That we've been doing all this talking about how these types of dramas and these types of stories are being made as either TV miniseries or TV shows now. So to see this actually get a wide release in theaters
with the most generic name ever.
Exactly, which the most generic
when you were
name.
like, let's watch you put the trailer for Unforgettable on here, and I was like, I don't even know what that is. I didn't know anything about it. The name is
right.
Forgettable.
Yeah.
You mean the one with Clint Eastwood, where he shoots a bunch of people in the end?
That's right. Which is one of the greatest movies ever made. And then there's this one. So. Unforgettable comes out April 21st, 2017. Sonia Mansfield, what's your Rotten Tomatoes prediction?
I'm going to say 17%.
Ooh, 17. Snap.
Yeah.
Peter.
Dang, I was probably going to say 17. I'm going to say...
That's weird.
I'll go lower, actually. I'll go 13.
13. All right, I'm going to go higher then. I'm going to say 30. I'm going to go way up there. I'm gonna
someone's generous.
So I am being generous. I am being, yes, generous. So, all right. Having said all that, and as much as we just kicked around Unforgettable and Katherine Heigl, this next one I put on the list specifically to just kick around. And that would be the Emoji Movie. Let's take a look at this preview. I'm just going to start off by saying, Sweet Christmas. Now movies are being shot, or at least previews are being presented in vertical video format. And this, as a professional video producer and somebody that likes the visual image, this is driving me up the wall. And to see this migrate, of course it would be this movie, the Emoji Movie, that would bring this awful internet whatever to the big screen. I am not in any way interested or excited for this movie, but I can't tell you how much I hated this preview.
Hey, they're breaking new ground. The vertical movie. It's brand new. Nobody would ever done that.
I wonder why. Oh, wait, I know. because it's awful. Because it looks just no.
I don't
Ugh.
understand how anyone in Hollywood thought this movie was a good idea. Like, this is the movie that, like, it's like Hollywood's not even trying anymore.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
here's a movie about emojis, and then we're gonna do one about punctuation, and then we're gonna, it's so stupid. And I mean, I guess this is the movie for people who liked the Angry Birds movie, I guess,
Well, you know
Maybe.
what?
which I didn't see.
Here's the problem.
Did you see?
I didn't. No, I did not. I heard it was actually better than you would expect, but I didn't see it, and I'm just not interested in it. You know,
Honestly, I thought this Emoji Movie was like a Funny or Die video. I didn't think it was really a thing.
it's a
So
thing.
here's what's happened. So executives sitting around and they're like, we got to create a movie. Hey, we got to get a movie that appeals to millennials. What do millennials like? Oh, they love those emojis. Maybe we can do something with emojis because they use them all the time. And what if we did an emoji movie with just emoji characters coming to life?
And we'll get
really
Stephen
cute.
Wright. Millennials love Stephen Wright.
That's right.
And then and it's like, I love it. Here's 30 million. Do it.
That's right. Yeah, it's got T.J. Miller. It's got James Corden. It's got Ileana Glazer, who is. I'm going to show my age by not knowing who that is. But yeah, well, yeah. Here's the thing, though. I think we have the Lego Movie to thank for this, because
Right.
it taught Hollywood you get the right directors and you put them on the most crass, the most commercial, cynical property, and they can do fantastic things with it. They can make a legitimately good movie. And then it seems like every 5 or 6 years, one of these bank shot awful ideas turns out to surprise people, and it just gives license to Hollywood to just make the most awful, ridiculous, shop-tested movies. Pirates of the Caribbean was like this too. That was a movie I made fun of for the year and a half leading up to it, and then when you see it, it's like, oh, there it is. It's good. I'll shut up now. And then
Well,
the Lego
I hope
movie.
the I hope the Emoji Movie is really good because I really want to see the Words with Friends movie.
Well, that's the
Or
thing.
the Candy Crush movie.
Oh, you know what? That's probably coming
Actually, I think that is coming, to be honest.
There you go.
But yeah, this could be. Hopefully, I was gonna say hopefully this is another battleship. Well, you know what? Yeah, that's the thing. Hopefully this is another battleship, so Hollywood will get it through its thick skull, just to knock these off. I don't know. What I would like, having said all that, what I would like is for it to surprise us, and for this crass machinery of Hollywood to actually take a crass idea and spit out something surprising and wonderful. But I don't think that's going to happen. Sonia, what do you think is going to be the Rotten Tomato score for Emoji the movie?
I think it's going to be the poop emoji.
No.
So I'm going to say 20.
20. All right. Peter.
So I think there's going to be probably some people who will pander to children. So I think that'll probably boost it a little bit. So I'm going to say 33.
I like your thinking, Peter, and I agree with you. I think there's going to be enough critics that go in with such a low expectations that they'll be like, oh, it's not as bad as you thought. Hey, it's all right. You're okay. No, fine, whatever. And then, yeah, so I'm going to say 40. I will not be one of those critics, but
I would rather see Unforgettable.
maybe we should.
I
do
don't know.
that.
That's pushing it.
Actually, that is something that we might want to incorporate into this show. Is after the movies come out, we revisit what we thought and do like mini reviews in the show. But yeah, so all right,
Epilogue, right? And then epilogue.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we can call it, the epilogue segment of the show. Speaking of epilogues, I don't really have a transition that has anything to do with epilogues. I was going to try to come up with some sort of Vin Diesel, end of his career, snotty internet journalist swipe at him. But for the man that voiced the Iron Giant, I can't bring myself to being that thuggish. Despite the fact... Exactly, and Groot. Despite the fact that he is about to inflict XXX, the return of Xander Cage, onto us. Let's take a look at this. Wow. Sweet Chris. Wow. I don't exactly.
Where should we start?
We're lost for words. If you want, I'll start. It looks absolutely ridiculous in so many ways. It's like they took the Fast and the Furious template and applied it to like a spy movie, but they took out all the spying, and they just put in a whole bunch of outrageous action sequences that defy any reality whatsoever.
Right.
And
it's not your mama's spy movie. It's a spy movie to the extreme.
I think the original had some spy elements. This does not have any of them. It's just the Fast and the Furious spy movies. Also, that Ruby Rose chick seems to be playing the exact same character as in Orange is the New Black, except she has a gun.
Yeah.
I loved even the title, like the XXX Return of Xander Cage, because apparently I'm supposed to know who Xander Cage is, and that's supposed to make me really excited to see. Oh, Xander Cage is back! Like, I don't care. So, what is Toni Collette and Samuel L. Jackson doing in this movie?
I believe Samuel L. Jackson was in the first one.
I think he was.
Maybe
Samuel
the one with
Jackson
Ice Cube.
is a really great actor. He should try doing it again.
He's in the cash-in phase of his career, and he does
he's
do
just
good
now,
stuff with Quentin Tarantino and stuff.
All he does now is play guys who manages control rooms while like superheroes and spies fight crime. That's what he does now.
It's definitely true.
Actually, that's right. He's either the
and then
good,
he just
good guy in the
for
control
Quentin
room.
Tarantino to make movies.
That's
so
right.
He could like do some acting, I guess.
Between the Kingsman and the Avengers movie and this movie, that is what he's doing. He's either the bad guy in the control room or the good guy in the control room. But I think I figured out what's going on with Xander Cage. This movie. So think back to when you were in high school or in your 20s and you're going out on a Friday night. It's like 9:30.
And not recording a podcast with your dorky friends.
That's right.
You go out on a Friday night.
You're going out. You're maybe going to a party or something, and you're going to stop by 7-Eleven to maybe pick up a pack of cigarettes, something to drink or something to bring to party. And behind you are a couple of douchebags buying a case of Red Bull. And they're talking about, what they're going to do when they go out tonight. They're going to smash this. They're going to do that. They're going to whatever. This is the movie they would make if a studio if the guy behind them in line was like a studio head honcho and says, hey, kids, you want $150 million to make a movie? Here you go. This is the movie they would make. This is so ridiculous, showboaty.
Yep.
It's just one of the reasons I wanted to do this is because there's two previews. One of which has the hot chick with the gun, the badass number 3, looking down the thing, and she says like babes, guns, and explosions. Xander Cage is back or whatever. And it's
right.
We're supposed to be like so in awe, like, oh, the cool kids are back or whatever. And it's just so grating. It
seems so forced.
Yeah.
It's like, we're cool, man. Look how cool it is. It's cool, right? So cool.
That's right.
It's cool.
Like the first one, I don't think did that
Vin
well
Diesel's
and wasn't
so
that popular.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, then they made one with Ice Cube, right? Ice Cube was in one of them.
Yeah.
Because Vin Diesel was too big of an actor to do the sequel.
I don't
Serious,
care.
that was the thing.
You know, he was. That's why he wasn't in the second Fast and Furious movie. Also, he got too big for his britches, and he was off doing stuff. No, I hear you, and I don't get it.
This movie's, it looks stupid, and it reminds me of it's like the same people who would be like, yay, I want to see the new Entourage movie, like that sort of vibe. Like, just no.
Well, here's the thing though, and this is another mystery of why they made it, is because when I'm going to take my little 7-Eleven metaphor and play with it a little bit more. That was 15 years ago. The audience, the extreme sports audience,
right?
They still do, people still do things on YouTube. They still have the X Games and all that stuff. But this whole, he's going to be skiing, but he's not skiing in snow. He's skiing in a jungle. We're going to have motocross motorcycles, but they're not driving on land. They're driving on waves. It's just, I don't know. I don't know who this is for. It seems like the people that the original Triple X was made for, they're like 35 now. They're sweating mortgage payments. They don't need this movie.
I think this is another example of I think Vin Diesel's riding his Fast and the Furious high into thinking that he's a headline actor that can do these kind of movies and people will pay money to see him. And I think what's going to happen is this movie's going to come out and it's not going to make Fast and Furious money.
No, and that's the thing is I'll admit it. There was a time when I thought Vin Diesel might be the new Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he made Fast and Furious, then he made Triple X, then he made Pitch Black, or roughly in that order. And I was thinking, all right, I thought Triple X wasn't all that good, but it's like this guy's going somewhere. He's building up a head of steam to be the big action star of the 2010s or whatever, the 2000s.
I also thought he was going to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is why I
never
voted for
happened.
him for governor.
Ah.
All right. It took me a second to get.
So the first one did it did 348,000 worldwide.
What?
348 million worldwide.
Right. Okay.
So not bad, but not that great either. I guess the budget was probably way low, and the Rotten Tomato score of the first one was 48%.
Yeah. Oh, here's something that we haven't mentioned. This one comes out January 20th, which I think is a leading indicator that the studio itself is not loving this movie.
The other thing too is that this continues the whole trend and the idea that anytime you kind of include in your title the beginning of, the return of, the adventure begins, that kind of stuff, it's bound to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Now,
and that means it's going to be over and it's never going to happen.
Exactly. So actually, here's the thing though. So we have all just taken a bat to this movie. But when I see the preview for the new Fast and Furious movie, which is just as dumb, just as ridiculous, just as over the top, that has Vin Diesel preening around just as much, I am super excited for it. But this movie, what is the difference between Fast and Furious and this movie? On paper, I
feel like Fast and the Furious knows what it is.
I can't even breathe. I'm so choked up about.
I feel like it knows what it is. Whereas Triple X thinks it's really cool and hip and it's got swagger and all these things, but I don't think it has any of those things.
You know what?
I don't think it knows what it is.
I think, it's not self-aware. The Fast and the Furious movies are self-aware.
Yes.
And I might have said this in the previous podcast. Fast and the Furious movies are the perfection of the 1980s style of action movie. They're like 1980s style, ridiculous, buff, dumb action movies, but they do it so well that I gotta like it. So all right, no, that makes sense. You know what, Sonia? That's a great answer. What do you think?
Thank you.
What do you think is the Rotten Tomato score for XXX: The Return of Xander Cage?
I'm gonna say 33.
33. All right, Peter.
Well, let's see. The first one did 48. I think that this one's going to do less. So I'm going to go with. I'm going to say 10 points less. 38%.
38. All right. I am predicting Terminator Genesis level of awfulness. I think the fact that it's coming out in January, the fact that the trailer looks this bad, and the fact that this just seems like the kind of movie that critics are going to love to pound on. 17. I think we're in for an epic train wreck. But who knows? I could be wrong. Hopefully, I can think of a transition to this next movie, but I can't. So we're just going to go right into it. We started by kicking around the current state of Ridley Scott's other series, the Alien series, and we're going to end this inaugural edition of Dorking Out About Trailers by talking about Ridley Scott's other franchise. Franchise, you say? Yes. Blade Runner 2049. The Blade Runner movie is now a franchise. Let's take a look. All right, who wants to start?
I'll start. Which Blade Runner cut is this movie a sequel to?
That's a good question.
It's a legitimate question.
Yeah, no, it is.
I'm actually Blade Runner in all of its different incarnations. I mean, I think pretty much everyone would agree it's like a sci-fi masterpiece, and it's influenced like every sci-fi movie that's come after it. And a sequel's made me very nervous, but I'm kind of excited to see it. And it's directed by Dennis. Oh boy, here we go. I'm going to ruin his name. Villeneuve, who did The Arrival, which was one of my favorite movies of 2016. So it's made me way more optimistic about the movie. So I'm pretty excited to see it.
You know what? Wow. So I'm looking at Denis Villeneuve's Rotten Tomatoes page. Arrival, 94. Sicario, 94. Which I'll admit, I had a very cold reaction to Sicario, but there it is. The Enemy, which I've heard is great. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
75. Prisoners, 81. Indices, 92. You know what? I am pretty hopeful. I don't
think this needed a sequel. It really didn't. It's really fine just the way it is, but I'm really curious now.
Yeah, I have to say I'm really curious. I was kind of didn't know how much I wanted to see this movie until I saw this trailer, which is essentially kind of a tone poem of this new world. But it's got that old Blade Runner music, and I got to say I would almost, I'm not going to say this, I would almost prefer if Harrison Ford was not even in it. It's just it's a new movie set in that vibe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping that they'll take the same approach that The Force Awakens did, which is he'll be in it, but he won't be kind of the main character.
Right.
He's gonna die in this one too.
Yeah, he may die. You never know.
That's gonna be Harrison Ford's thing now. He's gonna return to his old properties to be killed off halfway through
Indiana
the movie.
Jones is next. That's right.
Oh, that would be nuts to see. So yeah, movie info. 30 years after the events of the first film, a new Blade Runner, LAPD Officer K, played by Ryan Gosling, unearths a long-buried secret that has the potential to plunge what's left of society into chaos. K's discovery leads him on a quest to find Rick Deckard, a former LAPD Blade Runner who's been missing for 30 years. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
I'm into it.
You know what? I'm into it. I am a defender of movies or remakes and sequels and reboots. I feel like I'm alone in modern criticism. Me and Sonia are alone in modern criticism with that thought, but I don't care. I'm interested in this. I think it could be cool. It's got enough good people attached to it that I'm very hopeful. Peter, what's your Rotten Tomatoes score for this?
I'm pretty excited for it too. I think that other people will be as well. So, and I think, given like what you said with the cast and the director who has a lot of good credentials, I'm going to say 88.
88. All right. I would love for that movie to get that score. Sonia Mansfield.
Actually, I was pretty close to Peter. I was going to say 85.
85. All right. You know what? I'm going to take a lower number. I think there's going to be a couple of critics that are just going to want to hate on this because they love the original. Which, by the way, I should add this. Denis Villeneuve came out with a statement saying that this is not going to answer the question of whether or not Rick was a replicant. Depending on which cut of the original Blade Runner, Harrison Ford's character may or may not have been a replicant.
Right.
And supposedly this is not going to answer that.
Interesting. So Ridley Scott says he is. Harrison Ford says he isn't.
Right.
So,
exactly. And I think I suspect that that when they actually made the movie, Harrison Ford kind of knew what was going on, and he knew he was not a replicant.
Right.
I suspect that in the interim, with the subsequent director's cuts and ultimate cuts and whatever, where they used footage from Ridley Scott's 1985 movie Legend with Tom Cruise to heavily imply that Rick was a replicant. You know what? So I'm kind of on Harrison Ford's side on this, but who knows? I'm going to say 80. There's going to be enough. You know what? No, I'm going to say 77. There's going to be enough critics out there that just hold the first in such high esteem that they're going to not want to like this, but it's going to be good enough that there's going to be enough critics that'll jump on board. So 77. That's what I'm saying. And with that said, that is our first Dorking Out About trailers. Thank you for joining us. Yay! This show will be periodic, probably monthly or maybe twice a month, depending on, trailers come out at different times and different places and all that kind of thing. When we kind of build up enough to have 5 good trailers to talk about, we're not going to be reviewing or talking about every single trailer that comes out. We're just going to, build up a reserve of 5 or 6 good ones or interesting ones or ones that say something about the coming movie year, and then we'll pop out a new episode. So
or Emoji Movie ones.
Exactly. where something has to be said. So that's where we are. Sonia Mansfield, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I'll just say goodbye.
Peter, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Nope. Goodbye.
Bye! Dorking Out About trailers can be found on Twitter at Dorking Out Show, where you can also find Chris at Jet Jurgens, Sonia at The Sonia Show, and Peter Brown at Peter Brown AX. You can read about Sonia's random adventures at thesoniashow.com. You can keep track of the progress of my novel, Jet Jurgens and the Infinity Key, at jetjurgens.com. You can also sign up for the mailing list to get free chapters, early chapters, beta reading material, and basically just the book. So go there. You can also find out all about our other show, Dorking Out, at dorkingoutshow.com. While you're over there, you can support us by giving us a review on iTunes. We have a handy-dandy link to take you over to iTunes where you can leave your 5-star rating and your review in iTunes, which helps us get more listeners. We do it for your podcast. This has been a presentation of Rocket Spots Media.